Hello, welcome to the Lessons of Vietnam show. Hope you had a great week. My tongue's not working tonight for some reason. Hope you had a great week as we are getting started here on Wednesday night. Tonight's show is going to be, that doesn't look like Germany to me. And there's a reason for that question there. I'm your host, Bill Dixon, of the Lessons of Vietnam show. We try to tell the real story of the Vietnam War and what was going on and so forth. As you can see there, I was in Vietnam 67, 68. We're broadcast courtesy of Nissan Communications in Raleigh, North Carolina. If you would like to send me comments, suggestions, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, we always love to have guests. Contact me at dixonbill80@yahoo.com. Now, if you want to participate in the show, during the show, if you have a question or whatever, just go dial 919-518-9773, or even better yet, go by Skype, and it's Computers 2K Voice. Now, you can come in anytime you want to during the show and ask a question or whatever, and I'll try to explain or give you an answer or whatever. If I don't know the answer, I'll write it down and get you the information for the next show or contact you. This has been a tough time with the COVID and the pandemic and so forth for veterans especially. If you are a veteran or you know someone in your family that is a veteran and they are in a crisis, or you think they're in a crisis, just not feeling good about yourself, please call the 1-800-273-8255 and press 1. Be sure to press 1. And there's somebody there waiting to talk to you. Let's see if we can eliminate this 22 veteran suicides a day. This is the show. This doesn't look like Germany to me. And you see the Vietnam map there, and the sign that says "Welcome to Vietnam." I do a lot of presentations in schools. I'm doing 2 classes tomorrow at Athens Drive High School here in Raleigh. I did one a couple of weeks ago at Wakefield High School. And when I'm doing back-to-back classes, whenever I get to the second class, I always go down and I tell the first class. So I've kind of developed my own dog and pony show that I do. So I do everything. That way I know exactly where I'm at the next. I don't know how teachers do it. So what I'm doing tonight, I'm going to give you that presentation that I give to the schools. And I'd like to have your comments, good or bad. We started about 25 years ago or so, a course called The Lessons of Vietnam in the local high schools. It was started by Bob Matthews at Enloe High School. It's gone all across the country, and we've been proud of what it is, because before Vietnam was a paragraph. And it's amazing when you go in and talk to these kids, how interested they are in old folks like us coming in and telling the real story of the Vietnam War and so forth. And they usually like this one has the Athens Drive had so many students want to take the course that it was they've got it twice. The one over at Wakefield, they've had it both semesters. So it's out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you why Vietnam doesn't look like Germany as we go through. Let's get started on that one. Okay, so you know who I am. That's me, by the way. You can look at that picture and then look at me on your screen and you go, well, he's gained 2 people since he came home. Yeah, that is me eating Thanksgiving dinner somewhere in the jungles of Vietnam, because I was a private there and nobody ever told me where I was going. They just said go, and I'm eating my turkey loaf sea rations. So you know who I am. I am Bill Dixon. I am a North Carolina native. I was in Vietnam June 67 to 68. I was 23 years old when I arrived in Vietnam. I was considered an old man. I was married 3 years when I went to Vietnam, and I'm still married to the same woman. I was assigned to headquarters company 159 engineers out of Long Binh Post, which was about 20 miles north of Saigon. When I was at Long Binh, there was about 50,000 men and women on that base. It was big, right outside of Bien Hoa Air Base in the town of Bien Hoa. My original job was I went there as draftsman. You'll understand why it was a draftsman as we go along. But I did a whole lot more other things. A whole lot more. I did a whole lot of other things while I was there, and you'll kind of understand that as we go because that's kind of the story. Now, I want to ask you a question. I always ask the kids right off to start with is how many of you like rice? Raise your hand if you like rice, and I'll explain to you as we go why I ask you this. There's a specific reason, and there's nothing better than a nice hot bowl of rice. Now, Vietnam is not just a war. Most people say Vietnam, and you're thinking about the war. Vietnam is a country as well as a war. It's a beautiful country. They grow house plants there wild. It's unbelievable. Vietnam grows little people and big everything else. Um, you'll understand that in a minute, but that is the country. Now, Vietnam has two seasons, basically, hot and wet, hot and dry. And you can see there the transition into the monsoons. It's hot, then all of a sudden it's raining, it doesn't stop. And then I threw this picture in because I thought it was interesting. Michelin tires, Michelin rubber plantations were all over Vietnam. They still are, but this is a rubber tree. And if you look at the bottom there, you see that little cup of with white stuff in it. That is the sap. And you can look up just above that is a stick sticking out of the tree. And that is the spout that the sap runs out of when they put a notch in it. And that's how you collect rubber. Uh, by the way, Vietnam, they tell me, and I hadn't counted them, but Vietnam, they tell me, has 136 species of snakes, 133 of them are poisonous, the other three swallow you whole. You got ahead of me there. And if you go back, please. There you go. That is one of the cobras. Up in the top right-hand corner is a pit viper, a little green snake. We called him 2 steps. If he bit you, you had about 2 steps before you died. The bottom right-hand corner is a boa constrictor. The biggest one I saw was 14 feet. Thank goodness I never ran across a cobra. But I did, when I was eating that Thanksgiving, I did look over and see a little green snake, pit viper there in the bushes close to me. And but just don't even think about the snakes as you're going on and so forth. Okay, now let's talk about the bugs they have. If you look at that bottom corner of that spider, I hate spiders. Oh God, I hate spiders, especially when they're big in 2 hands. They had how many of y'all ever seen a centipede, by the way? That centipede with a whole lot of legs. Well, in Vietnam, they don't grow little centipedes. I think that was somewhere around 2 feet long. That boy's holding right there, and then over the other corner, you see the ants. Oh boy, they would eat you up. They took a big chunk of meat out. They hurt a whole lot. And I don't know what that green thing is up there. Other, it's a big bug. And that worm reminds me of a tobacco worm here, except bigger and a whole lot more horns. The mosquito up there were kind of like hummingbirds. They were so big. I think they had need tail numbers. I mean, big mosquitoes. And then the beetles. And that other thing right there. Now, as you're going on, now tomorrow it's supposed to be warm here. I don't know where you are, but it's supposed to be warm here tomorrow. But if you're out there somewhere moving around tomorrow and you feel like something crawling on you and so forth, it's probably not one of these. What I'm talking about are the Vietnamese leeches. Oh man, they're gross. They won't kill you, baby, basically. Now they can kill a full-grown water buffalo, enough of them sucking his blood in a day. But they like the warm, soft, moisture areas of your body. That's where you're between your knees and your waist. Now, if you were down in the Delta area where I was, you didn't wear underwear because if you did, you'd end up with all kinds of rashes. So every now and then you have to stop and, drop trousers and go, what I got, buddy? And your buddy, that's where the buddy check comes in. And he says, you got a nice big one back here on this cheek. And he puts a match to them or a cigarette or some insect repellent and they let go. You can't just pull them off because the head stays. So, if tomorrow, if you feel like something crawling on you, don't even think about leeches. You know how that works. Okay. Oh, by the way, Vietnam also grows big rats. Now, if you're going to eat off the country, by the way, you never should ask what you're getting. You could be getting rat, snake, monkey, cat. dog. We used to try to keep a dog up and get him nice and healthy. Mama saw him take him home for dinner. But you can see that rat could probably feed up almost a family whole right there. So, okay. All right, I lost my place there. You saw the rat. There's Mama Son. She's getting a whole table full of rats that's already been cooked, ready to go to market right there. You can see that. She's getting ready to weigh some out and get somebody, I don't know how much rat by the pound was, but a friend of mine would stop by every day, one of the little roadside markets, and get him a rat burger. And he never considered it being rat, but he happened to be there one day when a little boy came up and had a whole string he thought was fish. But Mama Son and a little boy just kind of haggled back and forwards, and she gave him some money, and he gave her the string, and it's when he found out it was rats. She chopped the head off and skinned them and put them in the same pot he'd been getting his rat burgers on. So up you see in the picture up above there, that's a dog there in the market has been cooked, getting ready to go on the market. They're trying to stop that, but there's too many people still buying dogs. I mean, it's like I said, we have a dog. Mama's on taking home for dinner. There's some rats. I mean, excuse me, there's a monkey down there for being cooked. So they're every country you go to, the appetite's a little different. Here, when we kill hogs, we eat everything but the squeal. Now let's talk about some of the wildlife over there. The buffalo you see there, and then the elephants. Thank goodness I never ran up on any elephants. I think they were a little farther north than I was. And then you had the tigers. Now let's think about it. One night you're out there on an ambush, and it's dark. You can't see the hand in front of your face. Now is that you can hear a loud noise out there? Now is that the comet that's coming down the trail? Is that the tiger you saw earlier today? Or is it that pig or that orangutan? Which one is it? You don't know because it's dark. And you're sitting there and something crawls across your legs. Is that a cobra, two-step, a centipede? Remember, it's totally dark. You just have to sit there because you can't make any noise. The first time I were out in the jungle, you see the orangutan there. I mean, they told me all this time that about these little short people wearing black pajamas going to get me my first day in Vietnam. And the first time I were out in the jungle, I looked up and swinging through the trees were the Vietcong. Well, I thought they were Vietcong because I hollered at the sergeant and he said, "No, stupid, those are the monkeys." I'm going, "Oh, okay." But for me, they would look like Vietcong. Now, and they had that deer right there, which looks kind of well. If you look at the head, it's a deer. The body didn't look. But they had those little deer. That bear I never saw, but was native there. So the wildlife was quite interesting there. By the way, when I mentioned Mama San a while ago, we had a system. If you were 18 and above, you were Mama San. If you were female, and if you were a male, you were Papa San, and everybody else was baby son. That's how we kept up with it and so forth. So that's how we kept things simple. We needed things simple. Also, you had to look out for. There was something over there that American soldiers and the communists used to see from time to time. Big thing. There was also a rock ape, but it was kind of like the Yeti that you hear or Bigfoot over there. And the rock apes would often attack soldiers like on patrol or whatever. They would throw rocks at them and so forth. There are stories of up in the northern part of South Vietnam where the rock apes herds would attack Marine patrols and so forth. So this strange hairy creature also was there. They may have been the rock apes because they were big, but the stories from Americans and our allies, as well as from the Vietnamese, this mysterious huge creature out there. Now, let's think about it again. You're out there trying to find the bad guys so you can shoot them. The picture right there, looking for the bad guys. Now that one's fairly easy. That guy's blonde haired, so he kind of stands out there, but he's going through elephant grass. Now that elephant grass, if you ever seen wheat in a field, how thick it grows, the elephant grass grows basically just like that, except here it grows anywhere from 10 to 12 feet tall, and it's like razors on it. When you go through that, you better put your sleeves down. I don't care how hot it is, because it will cut you all up. But that's can you if you can see the guy on that one's easy. Now the other picture, you're going through the jungle. The plants there are real thick. Can you see the man in that picture? He stands out clear as day. Now I can almost touch him. When I took this picture, I could almost touch him with my hand. That's how close he was. If he put his hand out, my hand out, we could touch each other. And once you step in the bushes and they close in around you, now just think you're going out there trying to find somebody, and they're trying to find you, and you can walk right up on them and never even know they're there until the last possible second. So you had to always be on the lookout. Now, let me tell you how I beat the draft. That is my hometown, Wilson, North Carolina. That is the courthouse in my hometown when I was there. Grew up there in the 50s and 60s. Now, if you look, I'll tell you a little bit about this town. If you look just to the right of that light pole there, there's a water fountain, or what used to be a water fountain. Now, when I was there, on one side of that was the white water fountain. On the other side of that was the colored water fountain. Gives you an idea of back when I was there. Now, when I was there, the industry was tobacco. It was the world's largest bright leaf tobacco company, or in the world. And basically, they kept out industry because they knew if the industry came in, that it would hire the tobacco hands, and it would be hard to find somebody to put the tobacco in. And when tobacco comes ready to go, it has to be brought in right there. It sits in the field, it just burned. So I grew up working in tobacco out at my grandfather's farm and my uncle and so forth. When I graduated from high school, I went to what I knew as Atlantic Christian College. Some of you may know now as Barton College. It was very strict school. Give you an idea, at 6 o'clock at night, the cowbell rang and all the girls had to be in the girls' dorm. Across the street from the girls' dorm was my house, and next door to that was a snack shop, soda shop named Tweety's. And at 9:30, the cowbell rang and the girls could come out of the dorm, and there was no place to go but Tweety's. And at 10 o'clock, the cowbell rang and all the girls had to be back in the dorm. So that kind of gives you an idea how strict it was. But I grew up across the street from the girls' dorm and there. So then I graduated from high school and I started school there. I'll tell you, I was Atlantic Christian for 20 years, basically, and never graduated from there. I carried 18 hours in class. I worked 40 hours a week. I ran cross-country track, played intramural football, had a radio station program every night, and was going steady with the lady who became my wife. So that kind of gave you an idea that I didn't spend a whole lot of time studying. Then I came down with mono, was laid out. So Basic Atlantic Christian told me that I need to take a break. So after a year and a half, I left Atlantic Christian. I was going to show them. I moved to Raleigh. That is the state capital there in Raleigh, where I live. And while I was here, I got married because this is where my wife grew up. It was here in Raleigh. So then I decided to go back to school, and I went to what people know today as Wake Tech. It was called WW Holding back then, and I graduated from there in architectural draftsman. And then I went out to get a job. Now that picture is a order to report for induction. I didn't get one of those. I didn't want to get one of those, and I tried everything I could do to not make sure I didn't get one. So I went trying to get a job, and every time I talked to somebody, I said, "We'd love to hire you, Bill, but you see, you're 1A, and you're getting ready to get drafted, so come see us when you get out." And that went on, for a while, and I got tired. You know, I'm 23, and now I got to go get started life, and I can't get started in life. So I got to thinking, I think I'll go down and join. So I went down and talked to a recruiter. Now you can see the recruiter there. I kind of got him in between because he comes in a lot of places. But I went and talked to this recruiter, and he told me if I joined for 4 years, he never mentioned I could have volunteered for 2 years. 4 years, I could choose the school I went to. I just got out of architecture drafting school. Why don't I go to engineering school? That sounded pretty. He said, okay, let's put it down on the paper. And he said, now where do you want to go when you get out of school? So I've always wanted to go to Germany. That way I can take my wife to. He says, okay, let's write it down on paper. Let's see. Engineering school in Germany. Okay, this is your contract. We have a contract now that we're going to send you to Germany in this engineering school. Hey, that's good. Let's go. So then they sent me to Fort Bragg. Fort Bragg is where I did my basic training. It was an interesting place there to do basic training. You can see the thing. And Amnon got ahead of me again. How about going back? There you go. Fort Bragg, and I'm there to do basic. While I was there, my drill sergeant told me I was the sorriest blanket he'd ever seen. Of course, he told everybody else that. But he told me every day that a little short guy in black pajamas was going to blow my sorry blanket away when I got to Vietnam. But I didn't pay any attention to that because I'm going to Germany. I ain't going to this Vietnam place. But he told me that every day. Every day he told me. Somebody's going to blow you away because you ain't doing what you're supposed to do and so forth. While I was at basic training, they gave me an aptitude test. And for some reason, they decided they're going to send me to OCS. I got to thinking again. OCS, they needed all the second lieutenants they could get. So second lieutenants were squad leaders, and they were losing them faster than anything else. So I got to thinking, man, here I'm going to go to Germany. I'm going to be an engineer, or I could be a second lieutenant in the jungles of Vietnam leading men in the combat. It's a no-brainer. I'd rather go to Germany as a private. I don't think they shoot at you in Germany yet. So I told him I didn't want to go. And you'd have thought I called my company commander bad names of his mother, because basic training got worse for that. And I had one of the highest grades getting out of basic training than anybody in my company. But I was the only one that I know did not get promoted from an E1 to E2. I arrived in Vietnam as a wonderful E1. I went to Fort Belvoir, Virginia, the engineering school. I got in the engineering school there. I got orders for Vietnam while I was in engineering school. I had to call my wife and tell her, don't pack for Germany. I'm going to Vietnam. And when I got those orders, I'm going, time out. I have a contract. My contract says Army Engineering School. And they said, well, where are you? I said, I'm at Army Engineering School. They said, okay. And I said, well, what is this Germany? He said, well, you joined for 4 years. This year, you're going to Vietnam. When you get out of Vietnam, maybe we'll send you to Germany. That was not quite the way the recruiter explained it to me. But anyway, I have to get ready for Vietnam, okay? Now, if you go into Vietnam, you got to get lots of shots. And if you've never had one of these air gun shots, you have missed something. Because these things take air and it shoots the shot into your arm. And if you flinch, that stuff will cut you up. And I saw guys passing, big, burly guys, tough guys, passing out with blood running off their fingertips when they got to the end of the line, because they might hit you on both sides with anywhere from 5 to 10 times with those shots. But you get a lot of shots when you're going off to the tropics. A lot of the guys going over originally went over on ships. Now, later they went into the commercial airlines, Brandon Airlines with flight attendants and all that good stuff. We'll take a lot of them over. But lucky me, I got a military flight over. My flight attendant or stewardess was called Loadmaster, and he wasn't cute at all. So we're flying over. We have train trouble. We land at Wake Island in the middle of a monsoon season. The pilot says we've got to go down. He could have said anything in the world besides that. As you see, there's not a whole lot of windows to look out. You're facing the back, and your duffel bag and everything, you're turning facing the back. So you're going forward, but you're looking to the back. But we landed at Wake Island in the middle of a monsoon, got up the next day, and they worked on the plane all night and some the next day. We flew from there to Guam. We landed there. They worked on the airplane about 4 hours there. Now, when I left the United States, my orders for a place called Pleiku. Pleiku was kind of in the middle of South Vietnam. But I think because of the plane problems, we landed at Benoit Air Base, which was right next door to Long Binh and the city of Benoit. Very busy air base there for the Air Force and the Vietnamese, so forth. We landed at Benoit Air Base. Now, I'll tell you a little bit on the next slide. But the next one, then from there, well, I have to tell you about the bus here. When that plane door opened and that heat, humidity, and smells came in, I right there knew I was not in North Carolina. I thought I was used to heat and humidity working in tobacco, but when that got there, I realized that it was definitely not North Carolina. So I'm getting off, I get off the plane with everybody else. Now, I went over there not knowing anybody on that airplane. You see people all the time going off in groups, training in groups. In Vietnam, we were all replacements. I don't know how many people on that plane, probably 100 or so, and I'd never seen any of them until we all got on that plane. Then they put us on a bus. Now, if you see the bus down there at the airport, going to take us to 90th replacement. When I got on the bus, I looked around and the windows all had chicken wire over them. I felt like I was in prison. So I went up to the driver and said, "Driver, where are we going to escape to? We're like prisoners. We don't know where we are." He said, "No, dummy. And so when we ride through the village, they can't throw grenades in the windows." Oh, okay. Now I definitely knew we weren't in North Carolina for that. So then we have to leave Benoit Air Base and pass through a couple little villages on the way. And I look around and lo and behold, everybody I saw, little short people wearing black pajamas with this dumb looking hat on. Went over to the driver again. I said, "Driver, how do you tell the good guys and the bad guys? Remember the drill sergeant? Your first day, a little short guy in black pajamas is going to blow your blanket away, except he fill in the blanks." He said, "It's easy. If they're pointing a rifle at you, they're probably bad guys." Now, this is 90th replacement, going in an entrance there, and then you see us getting off at 90th replacement. You see we're all wearing our khaki uniforms. Today, you see guys going there, got their weapons, they got their steel pot, or not, they don't steel pot anymore, but they got the helmet and the packs and everything. When we arrived in Vietnam, we arrived just like that. No weapons, no nothing at 90th replacement. When I got off the bus at 90th replacement, they came up to me and said, "Okay, you go with me." And I got KP. My first night in Vietnam, I'm washing dishes and peeling potatoes, and I look out in the distance and I see these red things coming out, what looks like a helicopter in the dark. It's hard to tell. And then I'll start seeing green ones going back. So I asked the cook there, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, the red ones are ours tracers. Every seventh bullet's a tracer, and the green ones are the communists going back. And well, what are they shooting at? Don't worry about it. That's the ammo dump." Wait a minute, ammo dump? See, nobody told me if we got a hit or whatever, going to alert, where the bunkers were. What was I supposed to do if we were under attack? I had no weapon. I had no steel pot, helmet. I had nothing. Where am I supposed to go? Nobody ever bothered to tell me that. When I got off KP at like 3 or 4 in the morning, he said, "Go over there to those barracks and try to find a dry mattress," which was tougher than I thought. I don't think there's anybody in that barracks besides me when I went in that particular barracks. So I spent the night and got out. Now, this is kind of like a meat warehouse thing. You go there at 90th replacement until somebody draws your name out of a pot and sends where they're going to send you. Okay. Now, go back to the airplane coming in. Most airplanes, when you're on, they take this long circle around. They come in nice and smooth. They don't do that in Vietnam. This is the captain speaking. "You may notice we're taking a steeper than normal glide path to avoid enemy sniper fire." I mean, he drops down and he hits that ground, bounces a few times, throws everything in reverse. And I remember looking out the one little one that was there, and it looked like we were going to run right through those hooches at the end of the runway. Went down the end of the runway, some back, and it was not, take your time, get off. It was get off my airplane right now. Because quite often they used to drop the communists or the Vietcong, we'll say here, would drop mortar rounds, just kind of welcome your country. And this kind of shows you the next one is "Welcome to South Vietnam. As you deplane, you will notice a slight increase in temperature and humidity." The first of many understatements. Wherever you were in Vietnam, whatever year you were there, what your rank was, everybody's story is different. But everybody that you talk to as a Vietnam vet's going to tell you three things: the smells, the heat, and the humidity when that first plane left. It was all just unbelievable. Okay. Now, by the way, this is the knife replacement. This was one of the safe areas where you didn't have to worry about being attacked or anything like that, except somebody didn't tell the Vietcong that. That barracks right there at knife replacement is where a 122 millimeter rocket hit, but they never got hit. So you didn't really see that because it didn't really happen. But the guys in that barracks probably hard to convince that. Okay, now we left knife replacement and get out on the road. You can see how the traffic was on the road right there. And I went 3 or 4 miles down the road to Long Bend Post. As you can see, that's a big place, very big. If you look at that thing right there where it says, I can't tell what it says, but the legend, if you look just to the bottom of that legend, that's about where my unit 159 Engineer Group was. So 159 Engineer Group, that was the insignia that we wore there at headquarters company. So now I'm at Long Bend. Okay. Now, I had a specific question a while ago. I asked y'all a question, and the question was, how many of y'all like rice? And I'm going to try to explain to you now. At Long Bend Post, 50,000 basically men and women, and I'm certain there were some, but I never saw a flush toilet. In fact, I met my wife in Hawaii, and she thought I was crazy because I kept going in the bathroom and flushing the commode, going, look, look. As you can see there was an outhouse. You have an outhouse. Ours were better than that, but there's somebody sitting in that outhouse right there. And what they would do is they take a 55-gallon barrel, which you see off to the side there, and put on each hole. And every day, some special soldier, who I used to like to call cream of the crop, would pull these barrels out, put diesel fuel in there, and stand there and stir them up and burn that crap. Now, whenever I talk about this, the kids in class go, ooh, listen, when I was burning crap, nobody gave me crap. That's pretty good in the military. You know, when I was burning crap, nobody ever shot at me. I never got a leech on me when I was burning crap. Pretty much the mosquitoes left me alone. I didn't have to worry about standing on puncher sticks. All that. See, it's all how you look at it and study it. Now, the Vietnamese people are ingenious. They don't waste nothing. I tried to find my picture. I have a picture of a house built out of beer cans. See, the water in Vietnam, you couldn't drink their water. And the water we drank was like drinking a swimming pool with all the chlorine and so forth in it. So it was hard to get water, and the beer was the beverage of choice. Whenever I went out as an engineer, whenever we went out with the 9th Infantry guys, we always took them a case of beer because we wanted to make sure that they looked after us because we knew that they didn't have any, we didn't have any idea how to take care of ourselves. Going back to Fort Belvoir, when I got orders for Vietnam, they came to me and said, okay, we're just sending you to Vietnam. We're going to have to give you specialized training to go to Vietnam. I said, hey, that's pretty good. Specialized training. They put me on a bus, took me to Fort Lee, Virginia, took me out to a rifle range, gave me an M16 with probably 3 clips or so. I shot those 3 clips at targets. They said, okay, you're now trained. They put me back on the bus with 2 other guys and took us back to Fort Belvoir, Virginia. That was my training for Vietnam. So, kind of give you an idea that all the good training we got. Now, the reason I have Mama Son down here in the rice paddy, the Vietnamese don't waste anything, not even their human waste. That is how they fertilize their rice paddies. As you can see there from the illustration that someone did, someone is taking care of business. It goes down the chute, and then it goes out into the rice paddies. Now, let me ask you something. Now, hold on, Mr. Your rice that you have at home is probably not Vietnamese rice. You know, does that mean rice should either be yellow or brown? I don't know. You know, if you get a chance after we get up through the show here, go into your pantry and look and see if it says it's bleached. Is the rice you have there bleached? but your rice, next time you sit down for a bowl of rice, hot, good hot bowl, don't even think about the story because I'm certain it's not like that, your rice. But anyway, I just want to know, how many of you like rice? I still eat rice. I mean, I've eaten worse, but that's how they fertilize their rice paddies and so forth. Like I said, they can take nothing, and make something out of it. Okay. Now, kind of gives you the idea there. No, I have not been to Germany. I never made it to Germany. I know the recruiter wouldn't lie, though. My ticket has been lost in the mail. I know it's the mailman's fault. My ticket has been lost in the mail now for 53 years. Now, tomorrow when the mailman comes, I'm the first one to go to the mailbox because I know my ticket's coming. It's just lost in the mail, and I'm expecting any day now, but I haven't made it to Germany yet. If any of you out there in the military, if you talk to a recruiter, he wouldn't lie to you. I've got 3 friends, I think, talked to the same recruiter because we all went through the same induction center here. But I don't know, like I said, I just don't think the recruiter would have lied to me. So it has got to be in the mail. The Army wouldn't have messed up like that. Reason I didn't go to Germany is because one of the reasons I came back from Vietnam and was sent to Fort Hood, Texas. And I enjoyed Texas, except somebody cut the tops of all the mountains off, and I looked for those big tall cactuses, and I found out they grew out farther west. But I thoroughly enjoyed Texas for the time I was there. So, okay, I didn't go to. I'm still waiting for my ticket to Germany. Okay. Now I wanted to introduce you to someone here. This is Dan Bullock. He was born on December 21st, 1953, in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Now, look at his picture. Does he look 26 in that picture? That's what he told the Marines he was. At the age of 11, Dan's father moved his family from Goldsboro to Brooklyn. There was a split up in the family. There, Dan would dream of becoming a U.S. Marine, a pilot, or a police officer. Dan would fulfill one of those dreams. PFC Dan Bullock, United States Marine Corps, is the youngest United States serviceman killed in Vietnam. At the time of his death, Dan Bullock was 15 years old. He changed his birth certificate to say he was 26. He don't look 14 there, but he definitely don't look 26 either. And by the time he got to Vietnam, he was 15. Dan was killed June 7th, 1969 at An Hoa Combat Base, Quang Nam Province, South Vietnam. Dan was a rifleman assigned to the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines Foxtrot Company, or F Company. At the time of his death, Dan, having realized an attack by the North Vietnamese was much stronger than usual and the ammunition supply was being depleted, he rushed to get more ammunition, not once, but twice, and it was upon his return the second time to rejoin his fellow Marines that he was hit numerous times and was killed instantly. Now, his remains were brought back and buried in Goldsboro, and for years, the weeds grew up all around it and so forth. There was very little there, even though he was there. Some Vietnam veterans found out about it, and they went over it. Now he's got a nice headstone, and they keep it up very nice. You get a chance to go to Goldsboro. I think you can ask about anybody what cemetery it's in and go by and see Dan's, where is that? Okay. Now, let's talk about some of the myths compared to Vietnam and other wars. That's one of the reasons we brought this show out. The first myth was the common belief that fighting in Vietnam was not as intense as World War II. Now you see the soldiers on the right in the black and white, they have a Japanese flag, looks like it's been shot up pretty good. And then you see in the color picture, 2 American soldiers holding a communist flag. But the fact is, on the myths, the average infantryman in South Pacific during World War II saw about 40 days of combat in 4 years. They would fight for a while, bring back and retrain and so forth. But because of the helicopter, the average infantryman in Vietnam saw about 240 days of combat in 1 year, thanks to the mobility of the helicopter. They were out, the grunts or infantry guys were in the field. They might come back in to get clean clothes or whatever they could get and turn right back around and go back out again because of the helicopter. Now, this is patrol. You got to realize now when you go out, everything you're going to need. You're out 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 days. Everything you needed, you had to take with you. Now look at that pack. You see the second guy there. Look at all the canteens hanging from his pack. Um, I heard of guys taking as many as 6 canteens. I always thought they were too heavy that way, but that kind of gives you an idea of what you had to walk all day in the 100-degree temperature, humidity probably 110. Uh, Steel pot on your head is heavy. I wore glasses back then, and my steel pot would come down and my glasses fog up. I couldn't hardly see where I was. But that'll give you an idea a little bit about what it looked like going on patrol. And it's hard to be quiet when you've got all that stuff on. So let's talk about the pack. Your pack can weigh anywhere from 80, 90 pounds. It could weigh even more than that. Usually the first couple of times you go out, you take a couple extra books and maybe a clean fatigue shirt or something like that. But you find out that stuff got heavy after about the second day. Now, let's talk about what was in there. First of all, you got bandoliers of ammunition. You can see the clips there, some grenades. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got 6 canteens of water. You've got the now this guy lived good because he's got MREs. It looks like the package meals that you just add water to. In this particular, but all the things you carried in the pack help wake. You see the smoke grenades and so forth there. See, if a soldier was wounded and you called out a medevac helicopter, the enemy may have captured one of our radios. They could call in the helicopter too. So as the helicopter is coming in, you could throw out one of these smoke grenades. Well, the Vietcong that's a pretty good idea. So they threw out a smoke grenade. Now, which smoke grenade was the one with Americans? So as a pilot was coming in, he would say, I see grape or I see green or whatever. And the guys on the ground say, Roger, and he'd know where to land. That's the reason we carried the smoke grenades. It's not, plus under fire, sometimes you threw those in so you could move around. Okay. Now, what else did you have to carry? Let's talk about that. By the way, this is one of the food we carried. It was in boxes like that. It came in case or boxes like that. Now, there was one, Dr. Seuss has been kind of getting wrecked across the coals lately, but he wrote a book, and I can't get this straight. Is it green eggs and ham or green ham and eggs? Never can. Which one is that? Anyway, the scrambled eggs and the sea rations were basically green. I mean, I figured anything all the eggs. Now, our sea rations were left over from Korea and World War II. You see there the cigarettes. Back then, they supplied cigarettes. The blue packages like that were so old of Newports that quite often they were moldy because they were so old. And then we have up the top, we've got the canned fruit. Listen, you are in hog heaven if you got canned fruit there and you got a pound loaf, the little soft bread pound loaf or whatever it's called. You add those two together, you were in hog heaven. There's your canned meat. One of the things that nobody wanted were the ham and limas. And we had our own name for that. It was ham and mothers. We add to that. But you can see toilet paper, imported. Just want enough, but they didn't make that much difference. Chewing gum, coffee, sugar, salt, a spoon, matches, and cream substitute. Now, if you've been there for a while, you learn if you wanted to heat that can up, as you go into your Claymore mines, take a little bit of the C4 out, and that C4 would instantly go, and it would heat your food, unless you use too much. And then it wouldn't make a difference because it's going to blow it away. At the bottom right-hand corner of that P38, that's probably the most important tool you can have, and one of the few things that the military come up with. That I still carry mine with me all the time. It's a great screwdriver, can opener. I can open a can with that P38 almost as fast as my wife can do one with a can opener. But that's what you had. Now, if you're going to go out for 5 days, you need to take 3 meals a day, 5 days, 15 boxes. And those things are heavy. So you probably didn't eat a whole meal each day. You probably eat a little here and a little there, but they got heavy and you had to carry them on your back, but you didn't have much else to go. Okay, now what else we got to carry? We good food and so forth. Aha! The steel pot, it had a liner inside it. You could cook in that pot. You could sit on it. You could wash in it. You could do about anything you wanted to in that steel pot. It was heavy, but it was very useful. Today they have these mylar helmets, and they can't do nothing like that. You see on his helmet there in the strap, he has his toilet paper. He has some insect repellent. He has a bullet and then a deck of cards. The ace of spades there may have been for leaving on a dead body, or it may have been a whole pack, so he'd have something to do. Grenades, they're heavy. You might want to take 5 or 6 of those. Now, if you go out with a guy who's got a 60 caliber machine gun, as you see down the guy down below, he can't carry all the ammunition. So all of you who go with him have to have a couple of bandoliers like that across your chest to help him carry. If you got a guy with an M79 grenade launcher, they got to carry. Somebody's got to help them carry some of their special grenades. Then, if you're really lucky, you get to be an RTO. You carry the radio. Now, let's just think about it. You got a radio on your back, that long antenna sticking up. And close to you, if you're a radio operator, is going to be the officer, the lieutenant probably, or maybe the captain, maybe even the major. But he's going to be close to you. So if you want to shoot an officer, all you got to do is look for the guy with the radio on his back. And if they miss the officer, guess who they get? But you got to carry that prick 25 on your back. Now, the thing that I hated was that flak jacket. It was heavy, it was hot, and it wouldn't stop a bullet. They say it was called a flak jacket because it would stop a piece of shrapnel, maybe. But a lot of guys didn't wear them. We were required whenever we went out to wear the steel pot and the flak jacket until we got out of sight. But I usually try to wear mine just in case. But all that stuff was added to that 90-pound pack with 100 degrees, 110% humidity or so. Now, what was the most important thing you have? You see the feet down there? The jungle boots have holes in the side so that when you get water in them, the water can run out. But see, the problem is when you walk in water, those holes let the water in, get out. So the most important thing you had to wear was dry socks because you didn't have time to change uniform. You may be wearing that same uniform for 2 weeks or more without a shower or a bath. You stink, yes, but so does everybody else with you. So you've got to have dry socks with maybe some powder every now and then, because if you were down in the Delta area, you were wet all the time. In the monsoon season, you were wet all the time. And that's how your feet will end up looking up at the end of the day. Now, when you're out, we said a while ago, you carry a lot of canteens. Well, sea rations were quite dry. So what you would do is you get your canteen and your water purification tablets. Now, you see me there, I'm wading into a stream, and I'm going to fill my canteen up. Now, every stream I saw in Vietnam was brown, yucky, smelly water, and you knew there was every disease known to man in that water and creepy crawlies. So you fill your canteen up, trying to keep as many creepy crawlers as you can. You got this canteen full of yucky, brown, smelly water, but you're really thirsty. So you put 2 halogen tablets in there and you shake it up real good. Oh, yes, I'm ready. But no, you're not. See, it's like iodine. Now you have brown, yucky water that tastes like iodine. It's drinkable, supposedly. Now, I knew of a guy that had put iodine tablets in his. He saved some water and sent it home, and there was a lot of things that didn't kill. So it didn't kill everything. So what you would do is you'd have your mom and dad, girlfriend, uncle, in my particular case, wife, would send you Kool-Aid. Now, I've been married 56 years to this young lady. She's never really paid a whole lot of attention to what I say, I don't think. But every day I would write her a letter. Dear sweetheart, please send me some grape pre-sweetened Kool-Aid. That was my color, grape. Give me some grape Kool-Aid. This particular day, I put my grape in there and I shake it up. Now I have a iodine, grapish, purplish brown water with dead creepy crawlies. And I turned that canteen up and I thought my head was going to cave in. Oh, I couldn't even pucker. I got to look at what in the world? What? And then I finally saw it. It was unsweetened Kool-Aid. I haven't drinking Kool-Aid since that day. Try it sometime. Try some unsweetened Kool-Aid in a thing of water and try it. Oh, it's unbelievable. But okay, people always get hung up. Well, who'd you fight in Vietnam? It depends a lot where you were. The top picture there is the Vietcong. The Vietcong could be the farmer by the day, but there was also units of fighting Vietcong that weren't just the farmers who'd come out at night. They were well trained there, but there's your Indian, the black pajamas. And then if you're a little farther north, you fought the NVA, North Vietnamese Army. As you can see there, they got their uniforms there with their pith helmets and so forth. So you bought two different groups there basically for a while, and then they had to start sending the NVAs farther down south to fight because during the Tet Offensive of '68, we about wiped out the Viet Cong as a fighting unit. So they had to start bringing NVA in and so forth. But we fought two different groups all together, and then sometimes both of them together would work together. So people always say, all you did was fight farmers. No, we didn't just fight farmers. NVA had almost the same equipment as we did. And if you look at AK-47 M16, most soldiers thought AK-47 was much better. They say that you could take an AK-47, which was the communist one, you could throw it in a ditch fully loaded, and a year later go back and dig it up and it would still shoot. If the M16 got dirty, it would jam. So that kind of give you the idea of who we fought and so forth. Okay, now let me talk about what was going on back home. We're over there giving our lives on the line, and what was going back on? Well, Jane Fonda was over in Vietnam. There she's sitting in an anti-aircraft gun in Hanoi, waiting for the blonde-haired, blue-eyed murderers. Now, guess who that is? It sure ain't the Vietnamese. She made propaganda movies and so forth for the Vietnamese over there. And there's a lot of things that she is credited for doing she did not do. She did not give back the Social Security number and names of the soldiers and where they were beat up and so forth. She did not do that, which is a proper. A lot of people say that she did that. She did not do that because the people that were there that was said in the story that they were involved said that she did not do that. Now, why would you want to go out and protest? That's not a bad. If you see that picture right there, make love, not war. That sounds like a pretty good thing for a college student, doesn't it? You see those two guys that got their draft card. They were going to burn their draft card. Down below, you see the draft resistors. Gerald Ford let the drafters come back. Jimmy Carter gave them a complete amnesty. The TV there, Vietnam was the first televised war. People sitting down at dinner at night and saw these scenes. But the only problem was they only saw what the TV station flashed on the screen, and the TV station didn't have time for the full story. Give me an example. During Tet, when you see the famous picture of the general shooting the guy, well, the photographer who took that picture constantly went back to the general and apologized for taking that picture. See, the full story was this guy that the general shot was supposed to have been a friend of theirs as a policeman. They found this guy at a mass grave of Saigon policemen and their families that he had shot. So now that he's captured and things are happening and they had no what they're going to do with him, so the general just shoots him. It may have been wrong, but if you look at why he shot him and so forth, there's more to the story than what you saw. Now, also what we had was, you see the helicopter flying there. He's spraying one of the defoliants, could have been Agent Blue, could be Agent White, Agent Yellow, Agent Orange. Agent Orange is the one everybody thinks about. If you look at the picture down below, that'll give you an idea what happened to the landscape after the Agent Orange or whatever was sprayed. Now, it's one thing about it. We went to Vietnam, we fought a war, and they sprayed it, and spraying saved a lot of lives there, but it's costing a lot of lives now. But our children and our grandchildren who were not involved in the war are now having the same effect as we are having from Agent Orange. Now, you're off in Vietnam. You miss Christmas. You miss Thanksgiving, unless you like being out in the jungle. How about weddings, graduations, funerals, birthdays, anniversaries, families, ball games, wives and girlfriends, parents, driving your car or boat, parties with friends, real meal, real milk. All that powdered stuff would never replace of real milk. Or your favorite foods. I'm a Southern boy. My grandmother used to make the best chicken and pastry. Oh, I could taste it just about every day over there. So not only you got people trying to shoot you, but you miss all the things that your friends back home are having. While you're over there putting your life on hold, your friends were back here going to school, going to college, partying, and so forth. So it was a whole lot more than just worrying about the bad guys. It's all the things you missed. Now let's talk about what we talked about a while ago, the soldiers. You can see there during the monsoon season, the guys trying to fill up their canteen. And as you notice, they're standing out in the water. You don't see a raincoat on any of those guys or an umbrella. I had a poncho, but it was so hot that I sweated so much I got wet anyway. Below them, as you see guys, you go out there, you hump through the jungle all day, and at night you set up ambush patrols. You never really fully get rested. You can't sleep because of the jungle sounds, so you never get rested. You see there at the bottom, up top, you should never get too far off the road. That is an armored personnel carrier. I think it holds about 14 men inside. We never went inside. We always sit up on top. You get off the ground a little bit, you get stuck. We sent another armored personnel carrier to get that one, and he got stuck. We thought we were going to have to spend the night there, but we finally got him out. Now, under that picture, you can kind of see the living conditions a lot of the grunts had put up with, the dirt, sandbags for mortar rounds and so forth. Like I said, not a whole lot of places for showers, hot meals, and so forth. Now, you all heard the famous Vietcong tunnel complex. This kind of gives you an example. As you see, this one is 3 stories deep. On the far right over there, you see the kitchen, but the smoke comes out way away from the kitchen. So the kitchen could be here cooking away, and you wouldn't even know it was there because the smoke would kind of filter out of the ground before. Then you had guys pop up out of a spider hole, shoot you, and drop back in. They had wells, as you can see. They had an ammunition dump down in the hospitals. They had somebody on a bicycle would turn a generator, give them lights and whatever they needed. You see a barracks over there, people sleeping. They had different, as you can see, different baffles in the tunnels so that you could drop a grenade or a rocket down in there and it wouldn't go very far or do much at all, anything. And a lot of times in the holes that you would go in, they had snakes, spiders, or punja sticks so that they knew where they were, but you didn't know where you were. One of the biggest bases we had in Vietnam was at Cu Chi, and I think it was about 200 miles of tunnels in and around Cu Chi. That was some of the things we had to worry about. Okay. Now, American casualties. The United States military suffered more than 47,000 personnel killed in Vietnam. 11,000 were non-combatants. Maybe people who got sick, had a heart attack and died, or for whatever reason. Over 150,000 were wounded. The myth that the average age of U.S. soldier killed in Vietnam was 19. No, the true figure is he was actually 22 years old, but still pretty young, but not a teenager. 11,465 of those personnel who were killed were under the age of 20. The majority of the men who fought in Vietnam were not drafted, as everybody thinks. They were volunteered. More than 3/4 of the men who fought in Vietnam volunteered to join the military. Of the roughly 8.7 million troops who served in the military between 1965 and 1973, only 1.8 million were drafted. 2.7 million of those in the military fought in Vietnam at this time. So it was almost 9 million men and women in the military during that period of time, but less than 3 million went to Vietnam. Again, it was somewhat the luck of the draw, who you made mad at the time. Only 25% of that 2.7 million were drafted, and only 30% of the combat deaths in the war were draftees. In contrast, during World War II, 2/3 of the men were drafted. We always hear about when Pearl Harbor went, everybody was getting it up, going and beating the doors, trying to get in to join the army and so forth. Don't look quite like that if you really look at the statistics. The draft didn't unfairly target the working class. The demographics deployed to Vietnam was a reflection of the demographics of the United States. I've heard so many times that the black soldier was used as cannon fodder. Let's look at the true story. At the time, 88.4% of troops deployed to Vietnam were Caucasian, 10.6% African Americans, and 1% were other races. The 1970 census estimated that the African American population in the United States was 11%. So less than the percentage going to Vietnam was less than the percentage here. So it didn't quite work that way. Kind of give you an idea a little bit. The duct tape was used in Vietnam to repair helicopter blades. During the Vietnam War, a U.S. prisoner of war was forced during torture. He had to do a press conference to say the things they wanted to do. His name was Jeremiah Denton, who became a congressman later, and he was able to blink torture in Morse code during the interview. If you get a chance to look at that interview, you can see him sitting there blinking like he's got something in his eye. So the people back home got the word torture. And by the way, super glue was invented and used during the Vietnam War to slow bleeding, get soldiers to the hospital. They could put it in the wounds and kind of help it hold together. So that's kind of give you an idea of the presentation of the Vietnam War and what was going on and so forth. Let me tell you what's going on as far as coming up. March 29th, by the way, is National Vietnam Veterans Day. If you're anywhere in the Triangle area at 12 o'clock noon on the 29th, Vietnam Veterans Day, the Durham Chapter 530 of the Vietnam Veterans of America will be doing a ceremony at the Vietnam Memorial in Durham. If you know anything about the area, it will be over by the Museum of Life Sciences in the parking lot by the Butterfly House. You can go by and see all the beautiful butterflies and so forth, but that's that day. The 3rd of April, there'll be the normal POW MIA ceremony. It's been held at the state capitol here for 30 years, about 33 years, I believe now, but it will be at 12 o'clock noon at the Capitol. If you're down somewhere, I think you really enjoy going down and see that. Let's see. And then we've got on the 10th of April, we have an Alliance Benefit Fair. It will be a drive-through situation for people to come, veterans to come in and find out what benefits and services. Be a lot of different service organizations there. Come in and find out what's out there for veterans and so forth. But that will begin at 10 o'clock. It will be at Cree parking lot, then Research Triangle Park. The 14th will be our next show. Same Wednesday night, 8 o'clock. And then on 17th, if you're down around Fort Bragg or whatever, I'll be at the Aberdeen Dog Fair down there with my service dog. So that's what's going on as far as going on and so forth. And I darkened out right there. But I also wanted to tell you, read this real quick, and I'm going to let you go. This is a quote from Medal of Honor recipient, General Patrick Brady. This is a quote. "Let me give you Vietnam in a nutshell. It matches in unselfishness anything we ever did. There was really nothing in it for us in a material sense. We were simply trying to help a helpless people be free from the horrible evil of communism. And the Vietnam veteran fought with a valor and humanitarianism never before seen in any war in our history." Vietnam veterans out there, God bless you and welcome home, and looking forward to seeing you in the next show.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.